get dressed.
No.
You just gonna sit here forever?
Yes! Tonight and tomorrow night and for as long as I like. I don't want any of your homemade remedies. I know what you're trying to do, and the best thing you can do for me is to just leave me alone. You and everybody else, and thanks for the sympathy. I don't want it, not from you or anybody.
Sympathy? That's not what you're getting from me, baby. You don't deserve it. You're a great monument to Norman Maine, you are. He was a drunk and he wasted his life, but he loved you. And he took enormous pride in the one thing in his life that wasn't a waste, you. His love for you and your success, that was the one thing in his life that wasn't a waste. And he knew it. Maybe he was wrong to do what he did, I don't know. But he didn't want to destroy that. Destroy the only thing he took pride in. And now you're doing the one thing he was terrified of. You're wiping it out. You're tossing aside the one thing he had left. You're tossing it right back into the ocean after him. You're the only thing that remains of him now. And if you just kick it away, it's like he never existed. Like there never was a Norman Maine at all.
The agony of self-doubt. That was Judy Garland playing Esther Budget in A Star is Born. August was a month full of momentous events and anniversaries, and September's just as memorable. On September 9th, the birth anniversary of Sergio Osmeña, the presidential candidacy of Benigno Aquino III was announced. And yet, on September 11th, Ferdinand Marcos's birth anniversary made the news because of a tribute concert at the Cultural Center for his widow, Imelda. And on September 28th, the 99th birth anniversary of Diosdado Macapagal, the Marcoses will mark the death anniversary of Macapagal's political rival, Ferdinand Marcos. Circles within circles, but all of them pointing to one problem we'll tackle tonight. How does one achieve political rehabilitation? Yesterday's hero may be today's has-been, who can be, in turn, tomorrow's comeback kid. It's here today, gone tomorrow night on The Explainer, and I'm Manolo, Quezon. Last Friday, Madame Imelda Romualdez Marcos got a well-deserved tribute from the Cultural Center of the Philippines by way of a concert to mark the CCP's 40th anniversary and the birthday of Madame's beloved husband. Earlier this year, her 80th birthday crowned her as Queen of the Geriatric Glitterati, underscoring a social status unimaginable back in, say, 1986. As the present administration tries to put some teeth into its coalition's campaign for 2010, what all the surveys say is a government that beat the Marcoses in terms of unpopularity has its work cut out for itself. Now, the president herself may be preparing to bow out, but she's got to be thinking, what with two sons set to seek re-election next year, whether she will have to wait for close to a generation to pass, as Imelda did, to have her birthday parties lovingly covered by the newspapers. And since the country's already in 2010 mode, we have to ask ourselves, when it comes to national politics, when you're down, are you permanently out? Is vindication, or shall we say political rehabilitation, possible? Since it was Marcos's birthday last September 11th, and since Diosdado Macapagal's birthday, September 28th, is also Marcos's death anniversary, let's kick things off with this Free Press editorial cartoon by Easy Izon, circa 1965. It shows Marcos and Macapagal in the dead of night digging up the corpses of issues past against each other. The Nalundasan murder case against Marcos and the issue of collaboration with the Japanese against Macapagal. Now, Marcos, of course, had entered national prominence for becoming a bar top-notcher while in jail. He cemented his reputation by claiming to be a bemedaled World War II veteran, part of a group of leaders like Ramon Magsaysay who achieved electoral success in large part because of their wartime service in the resistance. And so, Marcos could use his status as a war hero to call into question the patriotism of Macapagal, even though Macapagal, who didn't fight in Bataan but who lost his first wife to starvation, claimed he secretly supported the guerrillas. The counter-charges of being a murderer didn't stick either because much as Macapagal might bring up the Nalundasan case in which Marcos had been accused of shooting his father's political rival in Ilocos Norte, then Senate President Marcos could claim 20 years later that he'd proven his innocence in the proper forum, the Supreme Court. But political dirt has a way of keeping things messy, even if you think you've washed off the mud. In 1965 and 1969, Marcos would be elected and re-elected to the presidency, but with his time running out in 1971, a grenade attack in Plaza Miranda during the Liberal Party's senatorial meeting de avance was pinned by the opposition and the public on Marcos. And even if Marcos insisted he was innocent, no one believed him until long after his death, when one of the most seriously wounded, Senator Jovita Salonga, came around to expressing the belief that the attack had been undertaken by the Communist Party of the Philippines. Now, in the twilight of his presidency, Marcos would discover that what had formerly been taken as true was now all disbelieved. Aside from this iconic image of Mrs. Marcos by the Indonesian painter Baseke Abdullah, its companion portrait of President Marcos became an equally iconic representation of the new society and its assertion that the real McCoy was a genuine soldier-statesman. But by the year of Ninoy Aquino's death, a year ironically many people assumed it was Marcos who wasn't going to make it, the great dictator was writing this in his diary. The prose is vintage FM, and here he is thundering against scholars like Alfred McCoy and oppositionists like Boni Gallego, who dared question the authenticity of Marcos's military medals. Let me read. Their pettiness has besmirched with the foul attention the honorable service of all who have received medals and citations in the last World War. They have not excluded me, but instead have made me their special target as the most visible of those who offered blood, honor, and life to our people. So I must fight the battles of Bataan all over again. We must walk our death march in the hot April sun once again, and the cavalry of the Yusafe must again be told. End quote. And even if the Third Republic had given way to the new society that in turn had been replaced with the Fourth or New Republic, Marcos's image of permanence and power crumbled in the wake of questions that continued to haunt him even past his death, such as the thousands of victims of political murder during the martial law era, or the questionable dealings, financially especially, of Marcos himself. And yet, even if Marcos had to flee and died in exile because of people power, a generation afterwards, some veterans of the era anxiously wondered if a kind of posthumous rehabilitation of the new society hasn't taken place. The surprise appearance of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and his sister Aimee at the wake of her father's revolutionary successor, Cory Aquino, was generally greeted with both tolerance and even a kind of respect. Bongbong Marcos himself, one-time congressman, then governor of their home province, is widely talked about as a probable senatorial candidate in 2010. While his mother had lost her 1992 and 1998 presidential bids, this is one Marcos candidacy people seem to be taking seriously, and without a great deal of hostility. Now, rehabilitation by means of reconciliation is nothing new. After 2 decades of nonpartisanship, in the 1920s, Emilio Aguinaldo re-entered the political fray, and in 1935 actually ran for president again. In 1941, Aguinaldo and his former political enemy, Quezon, publicly reconciled, and the political rehabilitation of Aguinaldo began. By the early 1950s, Aguinaldo had well and truly recovered his status as an elder statesman, and even his pension, removed by the National Assembly in the 1930s, was restored. President Quirino made Aguinaldo a member of the Council of State. And besides rehabilitation by reconciliation, Aguinaldo achieved his by another means too. There's rehabilitation by longevity, where you're outliving your rivals and critics dulls all criticism of you. By the Macapagal administration, Aguinaldo's victory in terms of public opinion was complete, with Independence Day being shifted from July 4th to June 12th. So when we return, we'll take up a thread we saw with Ferdinand Marcos Jr., rehabilitation by means of posthumous vindication. Other sons who wanted to recover the lost luster of their father's reputations is what we'll cover when we return.
Down below, they're waiting for the princess. I'm ready.
All right. Cameras. Action!
So they were turning after all. Those cameras. Life, which can be strangely merciful, had taken pity on Norma Desmond. The dream she had clung to so desperately had enfolded her.
All the world's a stage, and there's no bigger stage than national politics. That was Gloria Swanson playing Norma Desmond in the 1950 movie